Hello, hello. Another Grandmaster cheating? Are we gonna have to talk about this? Okay, we were talking about the Dlugy situation a few days ago. Now, we're not, we do have some more Dlugy stuff to talk about. There's another whole Dlugy clarification about the original statement that we looked at. So, this is unrolling into a large situation beyond just some sort of feud between Magnus and Hans. There's a lot of top players sort of implicated in this kind of stuff. You know what I should pull up? So there's this famous situation. This is from the New York Times. You might know that guy. That's Sergey Karjakin. And there's a lot of evidence that he fixed matches to get his Grandmaster norm so quick to be the youngest Grandmaster ever when he became Grandmaster. There's specific evidence in here. With Karjakin's title as the world's youngest Grandmaster slipping away after his unexpected draw, Karjakin's father approached several players to whom his son had lost points and offered them money to replay their games. Firman said he was among those to receive an offer of cash for an arranged draw. Malinin, who had points to spare, agreed to replay his game with Karjakin. He said he did so for free and therefore did not consider it cheating. Yeah, wow, it's crazy what people can convince themselves of. Minutes later, the newly crowned Grandmaster ran into the tournament's main hall, radiant and proud as, quote, a peacock, according to Aroshenko, who was present. Asked about the episode in an interview with the New York Times, Karjakin said he would ask his father about it. He later said that he is not in touch with his father and had no further information about the tournament. Oh, that's not that funny, I guess. It's kind of sad, but still, why did he first say he would ask his father if he's not in touch with his father? Phone calls and text messages sent to Karjakin's parents were not answered. I guess they never expected the New York Times to come and be like, hey, we have a direct quote from someone saying that they were offered money by your dad to change a loss that you had into a draw. Is that true? Like, they just didn't expect that or something? They weren't prepared? But anyways, we're not here to talk about Sergey Karjakin. It's just, a lot of top Grandmasters, but this is different than Karjakin, to be honest, because this is someone coming out and admitting that they cheated. So that's a little bit different than not admitting that you cheated. This is a huge, very famous Grandmaster. Probably one of the top Norwegian Grandmasters right now. I've seen him in major tournaments. I forget which ones, but he's a major player for sure. 25. Wow, okay. Just over 2 weeks ago. This is only 2 weeks ago. The team of Norwegian Grandmaster Johan-Sebastian Christiansen celebrated with drinks and champagne that the Croatian series title had been secured. There was just one catch. The decisive match had yet to be played. That's a good lead. At the team meeting we sat there, we had to wait for the negotiations with the other team to be finished. They came in and said, yes, it will be 3-3, says Christensen to VG. Now, do they consider it not cheating because it's a draw? It makes it a tie? Let's see. What will their rationalizations be? This is a learning journey for all of us. What he tells is his story of what he believed to be match fixing in the top division of the Croatian chess series as late as October 2nd, 2022, which is this year, so basically just a few weeks ago. Christensen was one of two hired grandmasters on the team GSK Solin Cemex, which was chasing the series title. Before the last round against one of the weakest teams, they led Libornija by 1.5 points and had their hands firmly wrapped around the aggregate victory. At a dinner the night before the final and decisive round, Christensen dined with a teammate and talked about his optimism before the final round. They had just beaten the second-place team, and Christensen had managed a strong draw with black pieces against the Hungarian Grandmaster Saba Balog. Then the teammate told, according to Christensen, that there was talk of the last round being fixed, that it would be 3-3 on aggregate. Even then, Christensen reacted strongly and said he had no intention of taking part in the agreed game. I was quite pissed off. Then came the above-mentioned team meeting where he says he was given the following ultimatum. Either you play a short draw with white pieces against a player ranked far ahead of you, or you will be benched. Well, yeah, then the thing to do would be to say, well, I'll be benched. Yeah, arranged draws, I would think, are probably a way bigger problem of chess cheating than someone sneaking in a device into a tournament. I could be wrong, but that's my sense, and I think I wouldn't be surprised. All of this took place orally, there's no written communication on what is supposed to have happened. Club secretary Igor Juratek disputes that there has been foul play in their path to the title. At the same time, he confirms that the captain's wish was to play a draw to secure first place, and thus the title after a victory over second place in the penultimate round. Like, yeah, it's a fine line between wanting a short draw and fixing a short draw. But the line is definitely you can't talk to the other team about it. Okay, is this a weird translation thing? Our opponent in the last round could not be relegated at this time, so naturally they accepted this way of playing the last round. I don't know what that means. Please note that this practice is not unusual in European club chess. Yeah, but it's not good, right? Like, this is bad. Sort of not the type of chess world stuff we want going on. I mean, VG asked the follow-up questions, in what way is this not match fixing? And doesn't this mean that the second place team had no real chance to compete for the title on the final day? These have not been answered. Yeah, those are really good questions. Yeah, I should have thought of that. So that makes it so there's like, it's just set. You know, the second place team doesn't have a chance of like, you know, them losing a game instead of drawing a game. So yeah. Yeah, of course it's match fixing. Of course it's cheating. In what way is it not cheating, and like in what context is this okay? Why is it okay on the last day and not the first day? The Croatian Chess Federation has not responded to our inquiries. Okay, well, that's whack. I consider it a rather extreme thought. This is a Sebastian Christiansen quote. Accept this, show up, and then give a total fuck and play the game. But then I would soon have had problems, says Christensen. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, good on him. He's going to the media 2 weeks later. Okay, good on him. Wow. After the team meeting, drinks and champagne were ordered to celebrate the upcoming victory, says the Grandmaster. Christensen himself says he was totally uninterested and went to his own room. Juratic claims they celebrated victory over their biggest rival, not the title itself. He apologizes for VG questioning the team's fair play. Wait, okay, so Juratic is another guy on the team. So he says they were celebrating victory, like a specific victory over their biggest rival, not the title itself. Right, because, you know, they couldn't be celebrating the title itself, right? Because they didn't know what would happen the next day. He apologizes for VG questioning the team's fair play and says it does not match what actually happened in the championship. This is Google translated, so I don't know. The day after the team meeting, Christensen was benched according to the tournament overview, and his team did draw all 6 games. The longest game in this decisive match lasted only 12 moves. Wow. And in all games, the players finished with more time than they started with. So they're not even like, why? We saw this just on the last stream with the former president of the Swedish Chess Federation. He had been chess president of the Swedish Chess Federation or whatever for 5 years, from 2013 to 2018. And then just recently he lost 43 games in a row to lower his rating so he would qualify for a new Swedish money chess league or some shit. And it's really, dude, you're going to lose 43 games in a row? The brazenness. And this, too. Not playing anything over 12 moves and playing so fast that they have more time than they started with at the end. So they don't care. They think it's okay. And okay, it's not okay. And they're learning it's not okay. Hopefully. We became Croatian champion with a nasty aftertaste. It's also disgusting because I feel like I was part of it. Yeah, why didn't they just fucking play the last day normally? They probably would have still won. They just needed to get, even score. So, cheating in chess was put on the agenda. Yeah, we know. Oh yeah, this is a good quote. There has been a lot of focus on online cheating, but you forget that there are many other types of cheating. This is not taken seriously. If I hadn't said something here, the same thing would surely have been done next year. Yo, good on him. So, we talked on the last stream about these posts Maxim Dlugy did on Reddit, and he made these statements, right? But what I didn't see until I was uploading an edited version of the stream was on his second Reddit post, where he gives a follow-up explanation, and then insults Hikaru's stepfather and like just goes way overboard, which we talked about on the previous stream. He does do an edit, and I didn't notice that, okay? But here's what his edit is. I was maybe a bit ill-prepared and emotional when making this post this morning. I've taken some time to collect my thoughts and offer a clarification on my explanation. I don't want to hijack another day of activity on this subreddit, so I'll leave my original post up and simply link my clarification here. If the moderators want, I'll do an AMA. I don't want to hijack this platform. Why? Okay. So I saw this as I was posting my video, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, now I have to cover this. But it actually is worth covering just on its own. And I don't know how much it's worth covering. Like, this stuff just goes so deep, and like some of these people seem to be really trying to just get a lot of free publicity. So I'm not sure how much I want to go into it. Because like even like Maxim Dlugy now has done a whole interview with Spiegel, their Spiegel, which is a huge fucking media outlet. He's done like a whole goddamn interview. Look at him. That's him on the interview. How do you feel about cheating in online chess? And he responded, I agree that it is very unpleasant when someone cheats against you online while you are playing and trying to improve your rating. I understand the goal of chess.com is to prevent that, but they completely lose the measure of it. Online cheating is not like cheating at the board. Oh, fuck. Wait, what, dude? I'm sorry, I didn't expect to like immediately go into this, but like there are so many issues with what he just said. First of all, if I want to really get nitpicky, how do you feel about cheating? It's very unpleasant is a very strange thing to say. Bro, they're clearly asking, do you think cheating in online chess is like a problem? Like, how do you feel about cheating in online chess is not, how do you think people feel when their opponent cheats against them in online chess? Online cheating is not like cheating at the board. You are a chess grandmaster yourself, but mainly... How do they not ask a follow-up question about that? You really have to be like, what do you mean online cheating is not like cheating at the board? I mean, it's already very, very incriminating to even say that. Online cheating is not like cheating at the board. We've literally been talking about how online cheating is like cheating at the board. Actually, let me pull something up. This is Ivan Sokolov, GM Ivan Sokolov. Wow, coach of Ali Reza and Jordan Van Forest. Holy shit. Yeah, he's like a legend. He says, cheating in chess discussions. Many claim cheating online is not as bad as over the board. Sorry, it is exactly the same. Again, I'll say it again. I love his writing style. The only reason online cheaters do not do over the board is they did not yet figure out how to do it, but would love to. Like I said last time, I think that's a good point. Cheating, lifetime ban. Game has to be clean. I might not fully agree with lifetime ban, but still. So very different how different GMs can view cheating. So that's really revealing to say online cheating is not like cheating at the board. Because the normal GM would say it is exactly the same. And they would say it with an exclamation point. Because that's how you're supposed to speak. So here we are, back to his clarification on the Title Tuesday. It's becoming like very meta. Yeah, we started with the statement on Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann affair, and then we got the Title Tuesday explanation because the statement had so many gaps in it. And now we're at the clarification of the statement. Soon we'll have a response to the reception to the clarification of the Title Tuesday explanation. Okay. This morning, and actually, at least he did get the formatting right. Remember, I was pointing out how the previous one, he like doesn't know how to like, it's like weird points sometimes where he'll like go to the next paragraph. So at least he figured out how to resolve that, I think. Yeah. I mean, there's still some hang-ups, but it's a lot better, generally. He starts like indenting it. Okay, so it's whatever. You know, he's whipping it up. I don't know. Hopefully he's consulting a lawyer is all I can say, because this is clearly very serious stuff that he's talking about. This morning I made a post on Reddit attempting to clarify some questions which came up after my first post. As Hikaru said, chess GMs are not necessarily geniuses, we're just good at moving pieces on the board. So, as if to like introduce the idea that he's going to apologize for basically slandering Hikaru and his stepfather, he's now quoting Hikaru on like an unrelated subject, is my read of the situation. Which is fair, I guess. It's just really weird. I made the post in an emotional state. I had expected my initial statement to I had expected my initial statement to clear my name and wasn't prepared for some of the more malicious comments made in response. So he expected this. By the way, he's waited like several weeks to a month to make a statement, right? Like, it has to be understood, like, he's waited several weeks at the very least to drop a statement. So it's like when his statement has seeming gaps in it that even he acknowledges and has to sort of address, that's weird. So just like take that into account. But like, dude, I know you probably don't use Reddit and don't know much about like how forums or like the internet work, but yeah, that's very like wildly cocky to even imagine that you could clear your name with a post. I mean, to not even acknowledge that like this is a complicated issue and people are going to hold it against me that I cheated even in 2017, let alone that people might not believe me about my 2020 cheating when I try to just reanalyze my games to prove that I didn't cheat. Like, how do you not have the self-awareness to just realize like some people won't believe me, like I will get criticized? No, he didn't misspell Niemann. You're kidding. Oh. I mean, yeah, that's like, how do you rush that much when you've waited weeks to put out a statement? Although I am not new to chess, as my son pointed out today, I'm way too new to internet culture. I feel bad for his son. I would like to take this opportunity to fully clarify all my statements made one by one. Hopefully this statement can lay these questions to rest. 2017 cheating. From 2016 through to April 2017, I would sometimes use Titled Tuesdays as a teaching opportunity with my class. During this time, I played a total of 9 tournaments. I played 2 without student involvement, winning 1 of them. In the remaining 7, I severely underperformed in 5 of them, which was the result I expected with the handicap I was giving myself. In 2 of the tournaments, I suspect the student in question was using engine assistance, although even this is really just speculation on my part as I did not catch him cheating until much later. I have a lot to say about this. First off, let me say he's doing something really good, which is he's saying exact details. That's been my criticism of Hans Niemann, is that he has not really much at all given specific details. When he did, we realize now that he was probably not giving enough details. I'm sure he'll get to it eventually, but you have to be pretty specific when you take accountability for stuff. You have to be pretty specific about what you did wrong so that you're not minimizing it, or ignoring it. So I'll give him credit for that. He played a total of 9 tournaments. 2 he played without student involvement. Winning 1 of them is totally irrelevant. I don't know why you're telling us that. I do know why you're telling us that, but you shouldn't. In the remaining 7, so in 7 tournaments, so I hate how he phrases this. You're saying I played 2 without student involvement, winning 1 of them. In the remaining 7, I played with student involvement. That's how you take accountability for things. And it's not just like a word thing, like, because he doesn't phrase his speech in that way, he ends up framing everything in a totally indirect way. He doesn't even say here what he did wrong. But okay, he's implying that he used student assistance in 7 times. 7 times he thought it was a good call to have his students yell out moves when he's playing in a prize money tournament. By the way, I'm sure some of the students knew that this was wrong, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I bet some of the students said it was wrong. I'm just going to go out on a limb and suggest that total speculation. They're not babies. I mean, they're old enough to know that something like that is probably against chess.com's terms of service, and it is. It says, this is on chess.com's policies, it says, you cannot receive any outside assistance on live chess games. Okay, so I mean, that's obvious, but we have no way of knowing if there is a student who is using an engine. I don't claim to know what is true and false about situations I'm not aware of or have no evidence about. When there's something like this, though, I'm allowed to come up with sort of like what I imagine maybe. And if I'm going to imagine this situation, it's hypothetically possible that a teacher in that position could also have engine assistance, whether it's on a separate device, a separate window, whatever it might be. The point is, we don't really know what exactly chess.com's evidence was with Maxim Dlugy. As far as I'm aware, I do not believe that that's public information. So, do we really know whether his explanation satisfies their evidence? What he's doing now is just begging chess.com to release the Maxim Dlugy report. At this point, if chess.com doesn't release a Maxim Dlugy report after releasing the Hans Niemann report, you sort of have to wonder, like, what's the point? Like, what are they doing? What's their game plan here? And I'm not saying I want them to. I mean, it'll be good content and stuff. I don't really care. Like, clearly the floodgates are opening and people are admitting to more cheating and, like, things are changing in the chess world. But, like, it's hard to imagine chess.com seeing this and not saying, well, now we need to release information showing that he's not being totally honest. Because they could have information proving that, they have other ways of catching cheating. Like they said, didn't they say about Hans Niemann or someone cheating online that they caught them because their play was much stronger when they were toggling out of the chess.com window? So I'm not saying they have that evidence for Maxim Dlugy, but you have to wonder whether his story checks out with them and why he's trying to fight this like court of public opinion sort of like battle here, which I don't think he's winning, but it's weird that he's even trying to fight it. The last thing I want to say about this paragraph is I suspect the student in question was using engine assistance, although even this is really just speculation on my part as I did not catch him cheating until much later. What he's telling us with this is that he's actually not positive that that student was cheating on the days when he was caught by chess.com for his behavior online, violating fair play policies. The way it went down is they took his account offline, they banned him from chess.com, and then he reached out and was like, oh, here's what I think happened because I caught my student cheating, so he was probably cheating when he was at this class yelling out moves and stuff. But you have to understand, so given everything he's saying, if all of what he's saying is true, he does not know for sure that that student was cheating that day. He's just assuming that. That's his story. But what that means is that chess.com, according to them, they know that Maxim Dlugy was cheating in the times they caught him cheating. They are confident. They're confident enough to ban a top GM and teacher's account. So they know that he was cheating, but he doesn't know that his student was cheating. He just thinks that his student was cheating. So that just doesn't add up. When you have them knowing he cheated and him not knowing how it really happened. So, like, you have to ask, like, what if his story is wrong? Like, what if that's not the way it played out? Like, what if that student wasn't at those Titled Tuesdays, it was discovered, or he just wasn't cheating? If you heard Maxim Dlugy's story and thought that it was an attempt to deflect responsibility onto a child, I would not blame you, I guess is all I'm trying to say. Okay, here we get into the meat of it. If one wants to claim that involving anyone else in a tournament is cheating, under that definition I cheated. However, the definition of cheating is to act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage. We are at like a small child's understanding of morality at this point. In my view, if you're giving yourself a disadvantage, as I believed I was doing, this is not cheating. Well, in chess.com's view, you cannot receive any outside assistance on live chess games. So maybe we don't need to go to Webster's dictionary or like your own personal sense of like what is cheating. Everyone seems to disagree with you on Reddit and everywhere, dude. My statements on the events around 2017 may seem vague or hard to believe, and that is a symptom of a comment on the Vice article about the event. No, that's a symptom of your previous public statement. I mean, this public statement and the holes in it. In the emails, I explained the exact circumstances under which I began to suspect that the student was using engine help and offered to give the name of the student so their account on chess.com could be placed under higher scrutiny, as I suspected the student's cheating wasn't limited to my classroom. In the article, the details are censored as the editors of the article decided the information could lead to the student's identity being made public. I am trying to keep this in mind when discussing the events, as I don't want to have a hand in revealing this person's identity to the public. So yeah, obviously his point is true that like the exact circumstances would help us understand how confident he is in his story, but that doesn't matter, and like we don't need this. Like, he could give this information to chess.com if he wanted, like whatever. I don't know. That's a separate discussion. I do want to paint a clearer picture of how exactly these classes looked, as maybe my description of the democratic process created more questions than answers. During the games, I would mostly make my own moves and comment on them out loud, as many have pointed out that the time controls in a blitz tournament don't really allow for a fully crowdsourced game. At critical junctures that I felt could be instructive, I would think out loud 2 or 3 ideas and poll the class on what they felt was best. The class only had a few seconds to yell out their ideas. When the cheating student was involved, the likelihood that the best move would be chosen was far higher, as one of the votes would be a confident and persuasive vote for the best engine move. Between playing, commenting, and teaching the game, I didn't have the mental bandwidth to analyze the relative strength of these moves compared to the students' own ratings. The idea that one of my students was using engine assistance was the furthest thing from my mind. I'm not convinced by the story, let's just say that. Considering that in most of the tournaments I consistently underperformed, that's not a sentence, but okay, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, as I felt that the handicap of involving students in my play was only making any rare positive result more impressive to me. On the one occasion when I won a tournament during a class, I simply thought I was having an especially good day, and when I was banned during the April 2017 tournament, I thought it was a mistake. The first email we see in the Vice article is him saying, in August 29th, so like 4 months later, "Hi Danny, it's been a few months and I finally got to the bottom of what happened." So maybe there were previous emails that we didn't see. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but you would think if he was banned and he thought it was a mistake, he would be reaching out immediately. As I explained above, I really cannot get deep into the full details of how and when I caught the student cheating in class, but I was shocked when I did. I realized that although in most of the cases where I involved my class in Titled Tuesday events I was playing at a disadvantage, in 2 of them I was playing with an unfair advantage and chess.com's banning of my account was justified. I reached out at this point to Danny Wrench with my full account and made an attempt to return the prize money for the January tournament that I believed I did not deserve. To those who doubt this story, please think about the timeline. My account was banned in April. What other reason could I have for admitting to wrongdoing only in August? I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, there's other explanations. I don't want to speculate, but you could have just been building a story. I mean, it could be anything. But that question is not definitive or helpful. Why a money tournament? Title Tuesday coincided with these classes. If I wanted to show my students live high-level play during the class, this was the only way to do it. Why did you need to do that? Literally, chess teachers do not need to do that. That is not a normal thing that chess teachers feel like they need to do. This was not about trying to win prize money. This was something we would do on rare occasions and not the primary focus of the lessons. Why not ask the students to corroborate my story? Most of them are still minors, and it would be ridiculous to ask them to step forward in my defense. Yeah, who was asking him to do that? Unequivocally stating that I did not cheat. A number of comments asked me to unequivocally state that I did not cheat. I must add the equivocation of the events surrounding my 2017 play. Is he going to address the 2020 stuff here? If you take the stand step, my involving weaker players at what I believe to be my disadvantage was cheating, then I cheated on 7 occasions. Well, you could just say I cheated on 7 occasions, because everybody believes that, including the site you were using. Okay, so you can just say that you cheated. This is cheating. This is called cheating by the site that you were using. If you take the stance that only when engine assistance was given was I cheating, then I cheated. If you take the stance that if I had no reason to suspect that I had an advantage, then I didn't cheat, then I never cheated. Yeah, oh my god, if anyone has that way of viewing ethics, you are 12. With that equivocation out of the way, in my 40+ year career in chess, with this, just run it by someone else, dude. With the sole exception outlined above, I never cheated in online or over-the-board play. Okay, he talks about 2020. I don't have to scream. Okay, so the 2020 situation was he said that he admitted to cheating after chess.com banned his account again. He admitted to cheating because it was the easier thing to do, and he didn't want to have to go through the whole appeal process, and he would just get a new GM titled and diamond account from chess.com if he just admitted to cheating. So he just admitted to cheating. That's his story. As many have pointed out, I only took 7 minutes to respond to chess.com and give a false admission of guilt. I didn't realize it was only 7 minutes. So he got banned, and 7 minutes later, instead of months later, 7 minutes later, he said, "Oh, yeah, I cheated." To many, this is somehow suspicious. Although my reasoning was given in my initial post, I would like to address it again here. I was very busy during this period. That's his whole reason for everything, is that he was busy. I was very busy during this period and had few rare opportunities to sit down in peace and play in a Title Tuesday event. A year earlier, my account was improperly flagged and reinstated, which he mentioned in the previous post, unnecessarily, in my opinion. A few months earlier, technical difficulties with Chess.com's site had wasted hours of my time in a tournament that I wouldn't be able to complete. Yep, you mentioned that already too, and I also don't think that's relevant. But you're just trying to sort of justify you not caring about your status on Chess.com, but I don't think most people would agree that they cheated, even thinking that it would stay private, if they didn't actually cheat. Getting falsely flagged for cheating again was the last straw, but you had been correctly flagged once, and then, according to you, falsely flagged once. And in a sense, I took my ball and went home. No, you admitted to cheating as a GM with the biggest chess site in the world. I didn't want to spend the energy or time fighting with Chess.com's all-knowing algorithm. I didn't want to participate in any more Title Tuesday events, and since they claimed it was all confidential anyway. So yeah, they banned him from the Title Tuesday, money, prize money events, but he says that he didn't care. That's his story. He didn't care, so he just admitted that he cheated as a GM to Chess.com, when it wasn't true, he's saying. I didn't see the harm in giving a false admission to have access to a third account with which I could simply play for fun and at my leisure. It doesn't take more than 7 minutes to make a decision like this. I have given my analysis of these games. If anyone cares to look through them, they'll find that if anything, my play during this event was too human. You're just begging for Chess.com to release a report. Okay, if that's what you want, are you really baiting Chess.com into releasing a report? And then he saves it for last, but it's the most clearly wrong thing he did. I mean, ridiculous and absurd. Throughout the events surrounding the Hans Magnus affair, although I felt I needed to take some time and reflect on how exactly I should make my initial statement, I have been following the commentary closely. Hikaru and I have had multiple run-ins throughout our respective careers, and I always felt some animosity from him. Which, it's a great idea to talk about this publicly, Dlugy. Yeah, we really benefit from knowing that. Although my dealings with Sunil were mostly cordial and respectful, I did take his comments about me made to Mark Kurtzman somewhat personally. If I am wrong in claiming that Hikaru has an interest in his stepfather's business, I am willing to admit and apologize for the insinuation. It does, however, rub me the wrong way the apparent glee Hikaru has for dragging my name through the mud. This morning, when I was putting together the post on Reddit, I was similarly a bit too gleeful in attempting the same to him. I don't particularly like Hikaru, but much like how Magnus should not have brought my name into this affair, I should not have brought Hikaru's name into it. My issues with Sunil and my issues with Hikaru are separate and not really a part of this larger scandal. Well, yeah, and I'm glad this has been a teachable moment for you, Mr. Dlugy. But I do have to say, even though Magnus, didn't need to mention you. He chose to mention you. He didn't need to. I don't know if that means he should not have mentioned you. Because what he did was he brought your story to a lot of people's attention. And your story is a story of cheating. And you can choose to make that story not a story of cheating. And you're trying to do it by actually taking accountability. This third statement is the best one yet. For sure. It's the best one yet. Let's just hope that no one pokes any holes through it and we don't need a fourth statement and then we're good. But I'm wondering if Chess.com is going to feel like a report is in order. Do we have to look at this interview he did with Spiegel? This is drama. Why is he talking about Hans' personal life? 2 days before Magnus dropped my name in the interview, an old friend of mine.
His mentor, Maxim Dlugy, must be doing a great job.
So that's what we're talking about. Dlugy says, 2 days before Magnus dropped my name in the interview, an old friend of mine had contacted me and asked about my relationship with Hans. So now we're learning that the call was initiated by the friend, not by Dlugy. I said I wasn't his coach, more like his mentor. He asked what I thought of the cheating allegations. I said they were reprehensible, ridiculous, and slanderous. There is no evidence. There is not even a crime. I told my friend, who knows Magnus Carlsen, to contact Team Magnus and tell them that it's all absurd. So you told this person to contact Magnus. You tried to influence Magnus, and then he name dropped you. So you tried to get him to. So he contacted them, and I think he told them Max is Hans's mentor. Well, wouldn't that kind of make sense? Because you said I wasn't his coach, more like his mentor. He's like, I said I was his mentor. And I think he told them that Max is Hans's mentor. And then Carlson suggested that you might have something to do with Niemann cheating. Why would they say that? That's not accurate. The interviewer should not have said that. Look, he was asked directly. Check it out.
All right. And you do it even with losing 3 points to Hans Niemann, with drawing from that game.
So this is obviously in the tournament following the Sinkefeld Cup, when Magnus chose to resign after 2 moves to Hans. He wouldn't play him.
I think the whole world is wondering, Magnus, what was the reason you withdrew from that game?
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot particularly speak on that.
So he starts by just, obviously he doesn't want to answer it. He doesn't want to talk about his reasons or go into anything.
But people can draw their own conclusion, and they certainly have. And
I mean, he's very well spoken, but that's just an added bonus.
I have to say, I'm very impressed by Niemann's.
So here's when it happens, right? But I just want to say, so just think about the context, okay? He was asked directly about why he resigned against Hans. So he was asked directly about that. And this is what he says in regards to Maxim Dlugy.
I have to say, I'm very impressed by Niemann's play, and I think his mentor Maxim Dlugy must be doing a great job.
Okay.
She's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but fair enough, man. She didn't know who Maxim Dlugy was. I can fucking guarantee you that. I don't know who Maxim Dlugy was. Top chess players knew who Maxim Dlugy was, but I didn't. Most people didn't, and now everybody does. Vice published a fucking article about him. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. I think he should take it like a champ and just stop trying to make the story so complicated. I think it's weird that his story doesn't check out that much. It seems like it should just be simpler. It feels too complicated. Hey, sometimes life is complicated, but it feels a little complicated. Anyway, so that's all Magnus said, so I don't know why Der Spiegel said, and then Carlson suggested you might have something to do with Niemann's cheating. Okay, fine. I get that that's how some people could hear that, but in retrospect, I think we know that this is more Carlson responding to what we now know was Maxim reaching out and trying to tell them that it was reprehensible to suggest that Hans was cheating. So Magnus said, hey, fuck you, I'm going to mention your name on a live broadcast to hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, so I haven't mentioned this yet, and I've meant to. Magnus had a 52-game no-lose streak that Hans ended. Magnus does not lose classical chess games often. I mean, does the 52 go back to Duda beating him? So Der Spiegel asks, have you had any contact with Niemann recently? Dlugy says, I spoke to him before the U.S. Championships, which is the tournament that's going on right now that Niemann is in right now. And before that, I gave him some information that he didn't have yet. For example, I told him that Magnus wanted to have him thrown out of the tournament after his defeat in St. Louis. What's your evidence of this, Dlugy? How do you say something like that without evidence, dude? Without even a claim of evidence? Let alone, solid evidence? You don't even try to, give an argument. You don't even say, someone told me. You just say that you had that information. Bro, you're the first person to say that. Der Spiegel asked, how can Hans save his reputation? And Dlugy said, I think the best way is to go to court. Hans, I don't think you should take that advice. All the information has to be made public. A jury or a judge has to decide what to do. Why, though? You should at least make an argument. What Magnus did is absolutely ridiculous and very bad for chess. That's debatable. It's an emotional decision, and I don't think it was good that Magnus pulled out, but I don't know that you can say already it was bad for chess. It was bad for you. I'm not worried about my reputation. I feel comfortable in my skin. My students trust me. Many of my friends whom I haven't spoke to in years have come forward and said how disgusting they find these accusations. Many of my friends are just out of frame, laughing and having a good time with me. Will you file a lawsuit? There will be lawsuits. There will be blood. I drink your lawsuits. If I had to bet, I would say that Hans will sue. I've taken advice on that, of course. I'm keeping my options open. I'm ready to fight. In my professional career, I've fought some battles where no one gave me a chance and I still won them. I'm ready to call a spade a spade. I just can't take it anymore. Well, that's all vague platitudes. So that's a good sign. Why did you decide to speak publicly now, 3 weeks after your name first came up in the conflict? I had to weigh my options. I consulted with 3 law firms. Some are very expensive and powerful and extremely knowledgeable about this issue. One piece of advice was to make my position public. And my point of view is that Chess.com is acting like the judge, jury, and executioner. Yeah, I've heard you use that expression already. Chess.com accuses, Chess.com judges, Chess.com punishes, and brand marks potential cheaters. In what world is that fair? So what do you propose, man? Because they're just a company. They're just one company. We had an email exchange in which I wrote them that I am interested in a peaceful solution. I asked for a public statement in which they exonerated me. Oh my god. And what are you demanding now? An apology from Magnus for dragging me into this. Oh, you're not demanding that apology from Hikaru anymore, huh? And an apology from Chess.com for publishing our confidential emails. Ooh. Editor's note. Maxim Dlugy has said in the interview that Hans Niemann was 13 years old when he won the endgame against an international master described above. This is wrong. Hans Niemann was 11 years old and his opponent was a FIDE master. We have corrected the passage. Wow, Der Spiegel is running a tight ship over there. I gotta give him credit for that. Good on them. So anyways, we've gone through a lot of the interesting stuff that's happened recently. There was also this really funny situation where Levon Aronian played the fried liver opening, which is the classic opening that everybody gets fooled by when they start learning chess. He played it against Hans Niemann, and I don't think it was necessarily to troll Hans Niemann. The funny thing is he did it after the day before being in an interview. I love Levon. Look at his expression. He's just such a guy. He was in this interview, and like the interviewer, Christian Chirilla, who has a podcast with Fabiano that they just released a new episode. But basically the interviewer is like talking to Levon about this game that they get into. It's sort of like an interesting situation involving like a gambit and stuff like that. And somehow the interviewer like comes to mention the fried liver opening because it was similar in certain ways.
I knew that there is a line like this, there are many options for black, but I knew that knight e4 is...
You may be expecting the fried liver.
Oh, yeah. Always ready.
Always ready for the fried.
So if you don't know the fried liver, it's just a famous attack as white here. So you put the knight there, and then if black doesn't play in a very specific way, you're threatening this crushing attack with bringing the queen out. And black has like a very specific line. So as black, as a beginner, you don't want to get into this line because you need to know all these like specific moves. So they have this funny exchange, and then yes. And this is after round 7. So then the next day, wow, okay, so it was the next day, round 8, he actually played the fried liver opening. So check out this sort of clip to show us.
And I asked him about the fried liver, and check this out.
Oh, really?
He's playing against Hans Niemann, and he went for it. Knight to g5.
But with white pieces, yes?
Yes, take, knight to a5, and of course we know what's happening here.
You have to sort of do that exactly as he showed as black, or else you're screwed.
With white pieces, yes?
Yes, take, knight to a5, and of course we know what's happening here. White has a lot of moves.
Beginners don't know the knight to a5 thing, which you need to do. So it's just funny that Levon played this, and he played like the full game. He like played a fried liver game with Hans, and it turned into a draw, but it was interesting to see.
Rare guess.
I love these close-up shots of the players.
It's the highest level. Still, it kind of brings a smile, when you see our childhood favorites.
He's talking about the fried liver. Okay, and then... yeah, there's this good Hans Niemann interview from today. This is today after Hans drew a game against Wesley So.
Thank you, Yasser. Hans, welcome back to the show. How's the last week been for you?
Just playing chess.
And how is the chess going?
Oh, not that well, but could be worse.
Absolutely. And today you kind of pulled the brakes early on. Can you talk to us about today's game a little bit?
Yeah, well, we can start at this moment, Rookie 2.
This is really interesting. There's a few things I want to talk about that are really interesting from this interview. So first is this point. He's talking about sort of a mindset that would be helpful for chess success.
And then things, it's important when things to adjust your mindset. I've learned that from my previous games. It's very important to adjust your mindset because I think your perception of the position has quite a significant impact on how you play. Because, for example, I think that if you had the ability to tell yourself that you were playing a different color, I think that if you could do that as a chess player, I think that would plus 50 rating points.
I assume he means like imagine that you're playing the opposite color, right? Like imagine that you're seeing the position from the other side, which is he's totally right. Like there's no doubt, right? Like that's a very key skill that you develop at the higher levels of chess, being able to see beyond just your own initiatives, but the opponents and really just see it. That's why computers are so good. I mean, they basically can run every single possibility with no bias. And so they can like see things that we wouldn't even look at.
I was very happy to see this. Yeah.
You were? Okay,
Of
so
course,
you were expecting
I was,
him to
begging.
potentially...
I was like, come on, when you play knight.
He's talking about like begging for a draw. He just wanted to end the game, which is totally fair. It happens. Like it's not like match fixing like we were talking about. Like you play the game, you want to draw. It's okay to do a draw. You just can't like communicate it like without your moves. You know what I mean? Like the only way to communicate to your opponent that you want to draw is to play moves. That's the way to do it. Yeah, I like Yasser. Yasser's really invested in like Niemann's Uber Eats like escapades.
And then they cancel it. You sort of just revert back to actually going outside and walking to get food. So, I don't know. I think Uber Eats has lost my business.
Uh-oh.
And how about Berlin?
He's like, Uber Eats has lost my business, and Yasser Sarawan's like, uh-oh.
I don't know. I think Uber Eats has lost my business.
Uh-oh.
So, okay, it's just a fun time, good times. And now there's this podcast. I don't think I'm going to watch it on stream. I think I'm going to stop the stream and then watch this on my own. Okay, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Y'all are great, and it's been a great time, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.